Apple's battle with Facebook and Google over data harvesting continues. And one of the things that hasn't made headlines in iOS 15 is a nasty little loophole that Apple has now closed that will stop Facebook taking some of your tracking data. We tell you how to deal with that.
So we've seen a lot of ramping up in the Apple versus Facebook battle, haven't we, over the last few months with iOS 15 coming out. So what's this latest data harvesting from Facebook that Apple's been looking at, Zach?
One of the things Facebook collects a lot of through Facebook itself and Instagram is photos. And a lot of those photos are taken on your mobile device, and your mobile device goes where you go. So if you start to work out where people have been as they take these photos, which devices they're using, their IP addresses, the GPS locations, you can collect a lot of data. Now, interestingly, when you look at Instagram and Facebook, that data is not evident there, right? You can't, if you download the photos from your profile, you won't see them. It's not displayed in a way that uses the data, but Facebook doesn't throw data away. So clearly, when you send these photos up there to either of these platforms, it takes the data for its own purposes. And it's a bit cagey about this and what it does with that. Apple shut the door on that now. So it's introduced a feature into the photo app, the gallery photo app on your iPhone, that enables you to strip this data before you send stuff to Facebook. And that shuts down this nasty little loophole that Facebook has been exploiting.
So the lesson we should learn from this is, if you're an iPhone user, don't install Facebook apps.
It doesn't matter. You know what? On this one, it doesn't matter if you install Facebook or not, because even if you use a browser to upload stuff, it will still strip the data. The lesson here is, Facebook will take every opportunity it can to take your data, and what we are trying to do is show you ways with just slight tweaks in your behaviors and how you use your devices, how you can shut that down. And we've talked about browsers, we've talked about mail applications, we're talking now around things like Instagram and photo galleries, photo albums, and Facebook itself. If you buy an iPhone, maybe this is the ultimate message: if you spend $1,000 or $1,500 on an iPhone because you buy into the privacy message, you still need to change how you use it in order to ensure that you are not enabling people to collect your data anyway.
So really what the lesson is don't use Facebook, really, isn't it? Much as a lot of people like myself actually do use Facebook in a very limited way, and you can kind of lock it down and use the ATT, app tracking transparency feature. That's not going to help you on your browser, is it? Unless you're doing a lot of other things as well, because there are tracker blockers that you can get online. But really, of all the companies, that we use and that we look to, there was the Facebook outage that happened a couple of weeks ago. It's very much like, do you really need to use these services given the amount of data that they do take, just by the fact that you're using them?
There's no limitations, there's no restrictions. And for me, and I've covered it before, for me, this photo metadata stripping is a microcosm. It sums up the issue. There's no good reason for Facebook to be stripping this data. It's stripping it for its own purposes, for its own monetization purposes. You as a user get no benefit from that. It shouldn't be allowed. There is no regulation. There are no restrictions. Let's face it, the data harvesting platforms, Facebook and Google primarily, it's only regulation or user user views or the backlashes that are out there that force them to make modest changes, but behind the scenes, they will exploit where they can. And while on the privacy side, that's one factor, we've seen on the algorithmic side, the more data they have, the more data they can use, all about engagement and getting you to stick to the platform. And we've seen all of the stuff that came out of the whistleblower situation in the US as well. So yeah, I think people need to take a little bit of time to adjust how their devices are set up and how they use them, just to shut the door on some of these exploits.